Hey again, I'm Opa and this is Opa's Place. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Bill of Rights. As you know, in 1776, the Declaration of Independence was written. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781. And at that time, just like today, all the states had their own constitutions, but because each state considered themselves a country at the time. That's the way it was originally, that's the way it's supposed to be today. They decided that they needed a constitution for the Union, for the new government. They drafted the Articles of Confederation in 1777. That was the first constitution we had. It was ratified in 1781, 5 years after the Declaration of Independence. And basically, the Articles of Confederation only had one branch of government. It had the legislative branch. It didn't have an executive branch with a president. It didn't have a judicial branch with courts. Most of the courts, all that was handled by Congress. They decided they wanted a more centralized government. The Federalists did. At that time, there was two parties. Now you got Democrats and Republicans. Then they had Federalists and Anti-Federalists. The Federalists wanted the more centralized government. The Anti-Federalists said they didn't. They wanted the states to have more power and the people to have more power. We just came from having a king. We didn't want another federal government ruling over us. So Madison, who wrote the Constitution, he said you really didn't need a Bill of Rights because the Constitution was a limited government and it gave enumerated powers to the federal government. They couldn't do anything they wanted to. Kind of different today. They think they can do anything they want to today, even though we got a Bill of Rights. But anyway, he argued back and forth with the Anti-Federalists, and the Anti-Federalists said, look, we're not going to ratify the Constitution, don't put a Bill of Rights in it. So Madison agreed to put a Bill of Rights in it. Now, just to set things straight, Federalists, the main Federalists, most popular ones was Madison, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay. These are people you probably heard of, and they didn't really think you need a Bill of Rights. But then you had the Anti-Federalists, who were made up of Patrick Henry, Samuel Adams, George Mason, Henry Lee, Robert Yates, James Monroe, John Hancock, and James Warren. And they said, we're not ratifying the Constitution, let's put a Bill of Rights in it. So they trusted Madison for about a year. He said, I'll sit down with y'all, we'll write a Bill of Rights, we'll put it in the Constitution, we just need to ratify this. So they agreed. Now, you think about the Bill of Rights. Like I said, most people today, if you ask them what the Constitution is, they start reading off the Bill of Rights. And it's not part of the original Constitution. But let's go over it real quick and think of, just while I'm going over this, just think of where we're at today, even with the Bill of Rights, and think of where we would be as a government, as a federal government, without the Bill of Rights. Okay, first article of the Bill of Rights, number 1. Freedom of religion, and all this is freedom from the government interference, is what this is. The government won't interfere with your religion. They won't interfere with your speech, your freedom of the press, peaceable assembly, be able to petition the government for grievances you got against the government. Article 2, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Article number 3, no soldier shall be in peacetime quartered in a house. That was a problem back during the Revolutionary War. We hadn't really had that problem since. I think if we really gotten bad fix and was fighting over here in this country, it might become an issue, but it really hadn't been an issue. But they were just separating from England, so they put that in there. Number 4, search and seizure. Can't do it without a warrant. That's been trampled on a little bit. It tells how the warrant has to be. You got to tell people what you're looking for and where you're looking for it. Article number 5. You have to be indicted by a grand jury for capital offenses. Nobody should be found guilty twice for the same crime. Double jeopardy. You shouldn't be deprived of your life, liberty, property without the due process of law. And they can't take your property without just compensation. The eminent domain. That's been a little bit of a problem over the past few years. Number 6, the right to a speedy trial if you're the defense, and to be informed of what you're being accused of. to be able to confront your witnesses, to be able to obtain witnesses for yourself, and also to have assistance of a lawyer. That's in the Constitution. Just think if it wasn't in there, what they would be doing. In suits of common law, the right of a trial by jury. You can't have excessive bail. You can't have excessive fines. No cruel and unusual punishment. And then the last two they put in there, very, very, very important, and think of where we would be today if these wasn't in there. The enumerations in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. This was something Madison kind of argued. He said, look, if we put a Bill of Rights in there, the federal government's going to come back and they're going to say, well, it ain't in the Bill of Rights, so we got the right to tell you what you can and can't do. That's what that said. You don't. You still got your God-given rights. These are just rights that you want the government to protect you with. You want the government's protection for these rights against anybody. So you don't want the government coming up doing these things to you. Every one of these is restraining the government, not the people. It's telling the government, you can't do this. Okay, and here's the biggie, the 10th one. They put the 10th one in there. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, that'd be to the federal government in Washington, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states, respectively, and to the people. So in other words, if it ain't in the Constitution, it goes back to the states and the people. I mean, they were geniuses to put this in here. You can thank the anti-federalists when you read the Constitution and say, man, if y'all wouldn't have put this in here, there ain't no telling where we'd be today as far as the government's concerned. Because most of your court decisions, Supreme Court especially, it was related to these 10 amendments that are in the Constitution. Like I said, the first part of the Constitution is pretty much just telling how you elect people and who can run for office. And there's 18 things that it gives Congress the right to, that we loan them the rights or the powers to do, so that the states will have be able to work with one another. Okay, my book. You can see a copy of the cover over my head here. Things everyone should know according to OPA. Go on Amazon. Go on Kindle if you hadn't already. It's $5 for a digital copy. You can send me an email at opa@opasplace.com. And I'll get you a hard copy. You can get it personalized for a gift, like a birthday or Christmas or whatever. You can get their name put on the cover, things they should know, according to OPA. Something I wrote for my grandkids a long time ago. Makes you think about certain issues. Don't necessarily give you the answer. It just poses the question and makes you think. Now, I'm going to bring out the dog walking thing. It's still hot summer. Still see some people walking their dogs on hot concrete and asphalt. Vets are saying they're seeing more and more problems with dogs coming in with burnt pads on their feet. So don't walk your dog. If you can't walk on the surface with your bare feet, don't be walking your dog on there. Burn the pads on their feet. Use some of that critical thinking you've been supposed to be working on. Now, I want you to subscribe to the channel. I want you to share it. I want you to like it. You got to get people to start paying attention to what's going on. And like I always say, you need to apply critical thinking in everything you do. Always ask why, and always be able to explain why you have the opinion you have. Don't just say because I've seen it on the internet. Be able to explain why that's your opinion. And never, ever, ever give up. Here's the problem. You see people on TV all the time, especially young people. They're complaining and moaning and groaning about this country and all this. They want to be free. And everything, most of the time, what they're wanting to be done ain't freedom. It's government control. You got to get to these people and explain to them. They've been brainwashed in school that, man, the government is the answer, and the government is not the answer. What Reagan say, the worst words you can ever hear is, we're the government, we're here to help. Good grief, let us alone. Just leave us alone. Anyway, share the channel, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all next time about another subject that either historical or something you should be thinking about. Thank you.